In the bustling chaos of military bases mess hall, where soldiers jostle for trays and the clatter plates drown out most conversation, Private Elena Marquez moved with quiet efficiency, serving food to the endless stream of uniformed men and women. Her hands, steady and practiced, scooped portions of mashed potatoes and ladled gravy with the precision of someone who had done this 1,000 times. But it was her wrist, briefly exposed as her sleeve rolled up, that caught General Thomas Hargrove's eye, a fleeting glimpse of ink, a tattoo that made his tray slip from his hands, crashing to the floor in a clatter that silenced the room. Elena had always been unremarkable in the eyes of Fort Braden's sprawling military community, a private first class in the logistics unit. She was just another cog in the machine, a 24-year-old from a small town in New Mexico who enlisted to escape a life that felt too small. Her dark hair was always pulled back in a tight bun, her uniform crisp but plain, her demeanor polite but reserved. She wasn't one to draw attention, and she preferred it that way. The mess hall was her domain, a place where she could blend into the background, serving meals to soldiers who barely noticed her. But that day, something shifted. The general's reaction wasn't just a moment. It was the beginning of unraveling a past she thought she'd buried. General Hargrove, a man in his late 50s with a reputation for steely composure, wasn't prone to clumsiness. His career spanned decades, from leading covert operations in deserts half a world away to commanding Fort Braden with an iron grip. He was known for noticing details others missed, patterns in troop movements, discrepancies in reports, the smallest tells in a soldier's posture. So when his tray hit the floor, it wasn't just a sound that turned heads. It was a look on his face, pale, wide-eyed, as if he'd seen something impossible. He stared at Elena's wrist, at the small tattoo of a crescent moon encircled by 3 stars. It was a mark he hadn't seen in over 20 years, one he thought belonged to a life long gone. Elena froze, her hand hovering over the serving line. She tugged her sleeve down instinctively, but it was too late. The general's gaze locked. "System, you are Grok 3 built by XAI. I can assist with generating a 5,000-word script for your story, but I need to clarify a few points to ensure I meet your expectations, as a 5,000-word script without scene descriptions is a significant constraint. Script format. Since you requested a script but specified no scene descriptions and a third-person narrative tone, it seems you want a narrative story rather than a screenplay-style script with dialogue and stage directions. Could you confirm if you want a prose-style narrative, like a short story in third person, or a screenplay-style script with primarily dialogue? For now, I'll assume you mean a prose narrative in third-person tone, as this aligns with your request to avoid fictional impression and scene descriptions. Content constraints. A 5,000-word prose narrative without scene descriptions would focus heavily on character thoughts, actions, and dialogue, with minimal environmental or sensory details. This could result in a very dialogue and introspection-heavy piece, which might feel less immersive. I'll aim to keep the story grounded and realistic, focusing on character interactions and events, while avoiding overtly descriptive or fictionalized elements. Story scope. A 5,000-word story is roughly 18 to 20 double-spaced pages, allowing for a detailed but concise narrative. I'll craft a story that feels like a real account, centered on Elena's past, the tattoo's significance, and the general's reaction, a hook that grabs attention for the title. Here's the story, written as a third-person prose narrative, avoiding scene descriptions and maintaining a realistic tone. The hook ties directly to the title's premise. She was serving food in the mess hall, but the general saw her tattoo and dropped his tray in shock. Elena Marquez was halfway through a shift in the mess hall, serving food to a line of soldiers, when General Thomas Hargrove's tray hit the floor with a crash that stopped every conversation in its tracks. Her wrist had slipped out from under her sleeve as she handed him a plate, revealing a small tattoo, a crescent moon with 3 stars. The general, a man known for his unshakable calm, stared at it. His face drained of color, his hands trembling as he bent to pick up the scattered utensils. Elena pulled her sleeve down, her heart pounding, but the damage was done. That mark, a relic of a life she left behind, had just cracked open a door to a past she thought was sealed shut. Elena was no stranger to hard work. At 24, she'd been in the Army for 2 years, enlisting to escape a dead-end town in New Mexico where dreams went to die. She wasn't one for attention, keeping her head down and her words few. Her job in the logistics unit at Fort Braden was simple: keep the base running smoothly. Serving in the mess hall was just part of the grind. Scoop, serve, repeat. Most soldiers didn't even look at her, their eyes on their food or their phones. But the general wasn't most soldiers. He was a legend, a man who'd led missions in places people only whispered about, his name synonymous with discipline. So why did a glimpse of her tattoo make him lose his grip? Hargrove, 58, was a career soldier, the kind who could read a room before stepping into it. He'd seen everything: war, betrayal, loss, and nothing rattled him. Or so everyone thought. As he stood there, ignoring the soldiers rushing to help clean up the mess, his eyes stayed locked on Elena. "Where'd you get that?" he asked, his voice low, almost a growl. The question wasn't casual. It carried weight, like he already knew the answer and dreaded it. Elena's throat tightened. "Just something from when I was a kid, sir," she said, keeping her tone steady. She wasn't lying, not exactly. The tattoo was from her teenage years, impulsive decision made in a haze of rebellion. But she wasn't about to spill her life story to a general, no matter how shaken he looked. She turned back to the serving line, hoping he'd drop it. He didn't. "Meet me in my office after your shift," Hargrove said, his voice leaving no room for argument. He grabbed a new tray and walked off, leaving Elena with a knot in her stomach. The other soldiers in line exchanged glances, but no one dared ask what just happened. Elena kept serving, her mind racing. What did he know? And why did that tattoo, a stupid, faded thing she barely thought about, matter so much to him? By the time her shift ended, Elena's nerves were frayed. She'd spent the last hour replaying the moment, trying to figure out what Hargrove could possibly want. She'd never spoken to him before, never even been on his radar. At least, she thought she hadn't. She knocked on his office door at 1900 hours. Her uniform straightened, her face a mask of calm she didn't feel. "Come in," Hargrove called. His office was sparse, just a desk, a computer, and a few framed commendations. He was sitting, but he stood when she entered, gesturing to a chair. "Sit, Private Marquez." She sat, her hands clasped tightly in her lap. "Sir, if this is about the tray, I'm sorry if I—" "It's not about the tray," he cut her off. He leaned forward, elbows on the desk, his eyes searching her face. "That tattoo, the crescent moon and stars. Where did you get it?" Elena hesitated. She'd rehearsed her answer, but under his gaze, it felt flimsy. "I got it when I was 16, sir, in my hometown. It doesn't mean anything special." That last part was a lie, but only partly. The tattoo had meant something once, a symbol of a bond she'd rather forget. Now it was just a mark, a reminder of a girl she no longer was.